Well, the Queen of Unpopular Opinions is back. If my friends' reviews on Goodreads are any indication, I wanted to like the Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. I really, really did. But unfortunately, this book was just not it for me. So let's dive into my thoughts on the Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. First things first, let's talk about the plot just very briefly if you don't know what the book is about. So the Rom-Commers follows our main character, Emma Wheeler, who is a screenwriter, and she is living in Texas where she cares for her father full-time, who is paralyzed after an accident 10 years earlier. Emma gets a phone call from her friend slash agent slash ex-boyfriend, a lot going on there, with the opportunity of a lifetime for her to go to LA, live there for 6 weeks, and help rewrite the disastrous rom-com story of her writing hero, Charlie Yates. Only problem is that he knows nothing about this. So she arrives and they eventually, spoiler, start working on this screenplay together. And over time, Emma starts to teach Charlie a thing or two about love and life and romance and all of that. And I'm sure you can imagine what comes next. Now, that is just a bare bones plot, but let's get into my thoughts. First is the positives. I really enjoyed the writing style. I feel like the writing style is extremely light, it's extremely easy. It's very conversational, and it almost feels as though you're reading a diary entry from the main character. It's just very charming and it's very engaging to read. I also liked how this book talked about very serious, deep topics, but not in a way that was like heavy handed or hitting you over the head with it. We see with Emma, she is the caregiver for her father. She is also dealing with being an older sister who is kind of become a surrogate mother and the responsibilities that she puts on herself. She also deals with the grief of losing her own mother. And then we have Charlie, who is a cancer survivor. He also is divorced. And those are really heavy topics, but they're very seamlessly woven into the story in a way that feels just kind of slice of life. Now let's get into my critiques, of which there are many. I did not care for Charlie as a male main character. I felt like Charlie's personality was extremely inconsistent. I genuinely couldn't figure out who was the real Charlie Yates because his personality just seemed to change depending on who he was talking to. And I think that makes sense in the context of being in Hollywood and being in that world. But the thing is, it changed when he was in private with Emma too, pretty constantly. So I didn't really know who he actually was. To the world, he's known as being super charming. He can kind of get away with everything because of how charming and likable he is. But there were many times where I thought he was just a flat out jerk. And it made it really hard for me to root for them together. He also, in my opinion, had an astounding lack of emotional maturity and depth. Now, this man is 35 years old, okay? 35 years old, and he is also divorced. So he has been married and divorced. And shockingly, he acts as though he was an alien transplanted into Earth and told to live. He doesn't know how to cook. All he eats essentially is deli meat from a bag. He puts water on cereal because he doesn't want to go grocery shopping to get milk. He doesn't know how to open a can of biscuits. He doesn't know how to do a lot of things. And he also doesn't really know how to communicate. While not being able to do really anything on his own, he has an air of superiority that translates, especially when he's jealous, which is extremely off putting. He also is very much just like a jerk. And it was just making me crazy because I'm supposed to be rooting for them together. I think he's a red flag. Honestly, I was like waving the red flag every time he was saying something, and Emma was just not picking up what I was putting down. Now let's move on to Emma. Emma is extremely charming, extremely sweet. Her whole life has been devoted to caring for other people, whether that be her father or her sister. She was, in my opinion, extremely desperate for Charlie's attention to the point where I was getting embarrassed. And I was like, Emma, if you are my friend, I would be begging you to stop throwing herself at this man. There were multiple instances where she would outright throw herself at Charlie and he would say, I'm not interested. Or he would give her mixed messages and she would reciprocate the mixed messages and he would say, I'm not interested. And she would say, well, what if I am? And maybe this is just like not very with it of me, but I'm not going to chase a man, period. I'm just not going to chase a man. If he's not giving me interest, I'm moving on. I say as someone who has been married for 7 years. But that's because I didn't chase a man. I'll tell you that. And so it kind of made me think that the relationship was not two-sided. It was kind of just Charlie rebuffing Emma and her being like, but I like you. Okay. This book also features not one, but two of my least favorite tropes. The first one's right at the beginning, and that's when Emma first gets to LA. And the whole thing is that her friend slash agent slash ex-boyfriend has presented her with this opportunity, tells her that she needs to find someone else to watch her dad and to come to LA for 6 weeks. He hasn't even asked Charlie about this opportunity. So her decisions were being moved along by a man who was lying to her. And she was expected to just kind of like fall in line because he knows what's best. You see why I don't like that? Another instance of a man just making decisions and expecting Emma to follow along because he knows what's best is in my second least favorite trope. And this is, in order to create conflict in the relationship, we have one of the partners in all the books I've read, it's always been the man who comes to the conclusion that I am not right for this girl and she deserves better than me and she is better off without me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be rude and push her away. And then eventually I'm going to apologize and she's going to be like, oh, well, I was dealing with my feelings, blah, 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 blah. I hate that. One, it takes away agency from the main character, which makes me insane. Emma is a 30-year-old woman. She should be able to make these decisions on her own. And I feel like the groveling is never quite good enough. It just feels like, I know what's best for you. You should fall in line and listen to me. But then when I realize that actually the thing that I was stressed about isn't actually happening, I'm going to come back and you're going to say, oh, it was so romantic that you care for me so much. Not buying it. This is a final thought. And this isn't necessarily a plot. This is a major, major spoiler. But I've kind of given spoilers already, so proceed with caution. What kind of a doctor calls a patient and tells them they have metastatic lung cancer when they really just have bronchitis? Charlie pushes Emma away because his doctor tells him over the phone that he has metastatic lung cancer and that he's going to die. And then it just turns out that no, Charlie never had lung cancer. He had bronchitis. And you can't tell the difference between congestion and a tumor on an imaging. This was, as someone who has worked in the medical field for about 10 years in many different aspects, I've never seen something like this. I just never have. And the fact that the conflict was, I don't want Emma to have to take care of me because I'm going to die from cancer and she takes care of her dad. No, it's not actually cancer. It's bronchitis. You've got to be joking. I found it extremely lazy and also kind of laughably absurd. But I mean, it moved the plot forward and it got them together. So I guess that was a positive. Overall, this book was a miss for me, which was really frustrating because the first 150 pages, I was really rocking with it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I should try Katherine Center again. Part of me wants to because I really enjoy her writing style. But the last two books have both featured things that have just like really driven me nuts. So if you have not already subscribed, please do so. And also, if you feel so inclined, give this video a like. And I'm sure the Queen of Unpopular Opinions will be back sometime in the near future. Talk to you guys later.